I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good morning, Brian Johnson. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful day?
I'm fantastic. It's snowing here in Minnesota, so I mean, beautiful maybe has a little asterisk next to it, but I'm doing well.
Well, it's a great pleasure to connect with you, Brian. Please do tell us which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time.
Well, I do a weekly podcast called 7 Minute Security, where I just kind of regurgitate what I've learned about information security in a given week. And I think being a podcaster, you and I kind of matched interests on LinkedIn and kind of went from there.
Yeah. So do you do like 1 minute for every, do you summarize 1 minute of your day every day and then compile it?
It's something that I started doing when I first got into information security. I was like an IT guy for 12 or so years and then got my first full-time gig doing nothing but security. And I was just crushed by the weight of feeling overwhelmed and being just, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn for training and certifications. And there's all these three-letter acronyms and I don't know what they mean. And so I'd go to these different client meetings and I'd do these different projects. And then I would just get in my car and I'd whip out, my iPhone and I would just start recording for about 7 minutes, just almost as a brain dump for myself to go back and look at later or listen to later. I would just say, okay, I just got out of a meeting. We talked about penetration testing, and I learned that this tool is really neat for XYZ purpose. And then I started thinking, well, I bet there are other people like me who are trying to get into security and also feeling overwhelmed. So I'll try to professionalize this a little bit and release it as little 7 minute segments every week that hopefully others will find valuable.
Great idea. I found it valuable. Got to listen to that. Well, I'm the 12-minute guy, so you can understand why I will find value in the 7-minute guy's content, especially with security and especially in the IT world. Well done.
Yeah. Thanks.
So why will you, my friend, continue to repeat this skill? To repeat the skill of not just learning for yourself, but sharing it via the podcasting world?
I think because in a short amount of time after starting the podcast, I started hearing from people. They would send in emails and just say, oh my gosh, thank you. I felt overwhelmed too. I felt like, everybody who's in this industry, they're so much smarter than me. They know they have all these certifications, they have all this stuff. And I wanted somebody who just was like, just give it to me straight, help me, the newbie, get into the field. And so I find that really rewarding just to know that it absolutely is helping people out there. And I think it also helps me learn things better, kind of doing that teach to learn thing. So if I've gone through a training or a certification, I think it helps me process it and make sure I really know it's solid if I have to then kind of re-teach it on the podcast.
Well, what's one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please?
I've done consistently. So I am in a band, a little two-person acoustic duo that we just kind of have for fun, where I sing and play guitar, and then I have a female bandmate who sings, and we've been just playing coffee shops and
Sweet.
little people's backyard birthday parties and that kind of stuff, just as a creative way to stay fresh on our music and have some fun.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, I love it. It's a great stress reliever for me. I found that playing music, just something about that, even if it's a song we've done 1,000 times, when we finish with a 2-hour concert, I just feel like the tensity in my shoulders can relax. And I think I'm just a little bit more joyful, fun person to be around.
Suggest to someone out there that's listening, even someone in the IT world, why they should do something like that, have that stress reliever, if you would.
Oh, I think you need to find that thing, whatever that is, that hobby, whether it's going to the gym or playing music or whatever. Because especially in IT and security, I think we're seeing such a extreme burnout rate where people are working, you know, 10, 12, 15 hours a day with no sleep and no other counterbalance to their life. And then they're getting sick and it just kind of snowballs. And there's such a culture, I think, especially if you get into the low level IT, you know, the help desk jobs and stuff where you might have to work a 10-hour shift and then carry around a pager and it seems like you never disconnect from work. That can really steal your joy and that passion you probably had when you first got into IT and security. So I just think you've got to find a balance for your own, you know, mental and physical health sake, as well as, you know, for your employer. Because if you're crabby and burnt out and tired, you're not doing them any favors either.
Amazing audience, you're hearing it live here from Brian Johnson. Again, he is the podcast host of 7 Minute Security, as well as, interestingly enough, the co-founder of Sweet Surrender. Are you the sweet or are you the surrender in the group?
You know, I guess we haven't named each other yet, so we're kind of just all in one unit at this point.
All right. So, Brian, let's switch gears for a moment now and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Brian, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Oh my gosh. You know, I have two sons, and we were talking about childhood memories a few weeks ago, and I admitted to them one that pops to mind that I'm not very proud of, but it's there. I'm giving you the honest answer. When I was a kid, I saw this movie on Golden Pond. I don't know if that's one you've ever heard of, but anyway, there's a scene in it where there's an old man out on a boat, and I think him and his wife are looking at loons or something, and it's very quiet and it's very peaceful. And then I think a large like speedboat or ski boat comes by, scares the birds, and then the old man says, "Hey, buzz off," and he flips him the middle finger. And so everybody in my family, they laughed at that. And so next day I'm out playing out by the street in front of my house, and as the story goes, I guess I'm giving the middle finger to cars as they go passing by my house. And needless to say, when my mom saw what was going on, all of a sudden there was absolutely no laughter. I was in some serious trouble, and needless to say, I don't know that I've ever flipped off anyone again.
Ooh, why do you think this memory is so clear?
I think because I grew up as a real straight-laced, nervous Nelly. You know, my dad was a police officer, so I was kind of a by the book, by the law, try to do everything right. And I think this was my first time where, kind of unbeknownst to me, I was really doing something terribly offensive and inappropriate. And I'm the kind of person that's very hard on myself. Like there's nobody who can say anything to hurt my feelings because I can beat myself up better than anyone. And I think that, you know, getting scolded for that, understanding that giving the middle finger was not at all something that was okay to do. I really tormented myself about that for probably a couple of weeks, and I think it stuck in my memory because of that.
That's intriguing. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Sure.
I love the idea of how it connects to security and who you are as an individual, even from that little child, understanding that in order to be the person that is offering security, or even to be secured, if you would, it definitely takes a lot more than a one-time thing. It takes that ability to be on top of your game. It takes the ability to understand what are the threats that can occur. It takes the ability to be self-reflecting, to be able to do the introspection in self first, to then be on the offensive so that your defense may be the strongest it can be.
Oh my gosh. Is it okay if after this I snip out quotes of this for my website or something? Because I think that is lovely. I really like that.
Yeah, this is yours. This is yours. This is yours.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Oh my gosh. 12, that was probably, so I was in the 80s. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think. It was probably, oh, you know, okay, so I'll be honest. When I was 12, I was really getting into choir at school, and not really into the popular music that was on the radio. I was getting into the Broadway stuff. So I was like a big Phantom of the Opera. Michael something, I can't remember his name, was like the big Phantom Broadway star at the time. So I was listening to all the Broadway soundtracks, and I was a huge Weird Al fan. So probably whatever Weird Al album was out at the time, maybe it was the Bad or Fat, I'm Bad or I'm Fat, whatever that one is. Yeah. I was probably listening to that on repeat.
All right. Well, you definitely did have that time when you were bad, flipping the finger. Well, look at you.
Now, I'm just have to lock me up.
Well, Brian, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Brian?
Oh, I'm ready.
Brian, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes, I'd love that to be my eldest son.
Are you married?
I am.
So you said you have 2 boys, yeah?
That's correct.
Do you believe in God?
Absolutely.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes, I do.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I do not.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, it's probably a little more than 8 a day doing all the security stuff.
A little more than 8 is pretty impressive, though, for an IT guy. I'm just saying. Is it like a little more like 12 or 9?
I would say it's about 9. I'm in the home office here, so I really try to, when the kids get home, close the laptop, close the screen, and it's family time.
Yeah, that's impressive. Wow. Brian, if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Brian Johnson, what would you say that is?
I would say that if you've got a passion for something, whether that's a blog, a podcast, whatever, just do it. I didn't do a podcast for a while because I thought, there's 1,000 other people out there who cover my topic of interest. But I was given the advice that, hey, nobody has my unique perspective on it. And if I put that out there, people will find you and they will connect with what you're doing and saying.
Love it. Brian, this is a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, just that, if you'd like to connect with me, I'm at 7minutesecurity.com. And thank you for the pleasure and the honor of being on your podcast.
Yeah, most definitely. A pleasure I treasure. Brian Johnson, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.